Okay, so our last chapter on the events that are happening in the DOM um, are is something called event bubbling. So you'll see um, in the lecture. Let's see if I can get these two resize correctly. Um, yes. In the lecture, all the way at the bottom, we have a section on bubbling. So, in simple terms, what this means is that an event that occurs on a children will also be felt in the parent. That is basically what this notion of bubbling is. An event that happens in the child will be also felt in the parent. So that is to, let's say, uh, if we have our this document or this website that is represented by this HTML here. Um, we have our index HTML is coming from here, and index HTML just has an event listener that waits for the DOM to be loaded. And then we have, yeah, just this HTML markup. We have a UL and an LI. So in this context, again, going back to the simple terms for event bubbling is that the event will that happens in the child will be felt in the parents. So that is, if I have a click event listener on this, let's say Li, the click event will also be um, felt by the UL, which is the parent of the Li. And so again, if I have a click event on the Li, the UL will be able to see the event as well. And even the parent of the UL, which is the body itself, will also register the event, or the event basically bubbles up. So an event that happens in the Li bubbles up to the parent, and then it bubbles up to the parent of the parent, which in this case is the body. So let's see what that looks like. Let's add an event listener to let's first add an event listener to the Li. So let's grab the Li. So in this case, we're doing sort of like my to-do list, and I have a few to-dos. I'm going to grab my third or first to-do. So let's do let to-do one equal document.query selector, and I want to grab my first to-do. So I'm going to grab that by ID to-do one. And then I want to add an on-click, or I want to add an event listener that will listen for the click event in the to-do. So first, where do I want to add it? To the to-do, add event listener. What kind of event listener do I want? I want it to listen for the click event. And then my listener, which is a callback function. Remember that here you get the event. You may want to specify it or not, depending on if you need the event for anything like knowing who the target of the event was, or the coordinates of the where the event happened, etc. Um, we're going to be using it not here directly, but later on. Here, so let's do to do add event listener in the click. So I'm just going to do console log. Actually, I'm going to do place. I'm going to use the event object. First, let's do this. To do was clicked. A to do was clicked. So let's see what we have. I'm just gonna lower this. Let's see what we have in here. I'm going to do open my inspector or my developer tools, inspect, console. Now I'm going to click on the first one. Nothing is happening. I click on the second one. Nothing happens. I click on the first one, and I have my console log displaying a to-do was clicked, right? In this case, I'm adding this event listener to only my first to do, my first list item. And I had clicked that 17 times because it has logged 17 times. Now, going back to the bubbling thing, or the bubbling effect that events have in the DOM is what I was saying. This clicked is not only felt or registered in the LI, it is registered also in the parent of the LI, which is the UL, according to our markup here, and as well as the parent of the UL, which is the body. So what does that mean? Let's try this. Let's grab the UL and let's do document. Let's grab it by the ID. So let to-do list is equal to document that query selector. And the ID that I gave it was to-do list. Okay. So I grab my to-do list. Now let's add an on-click event listener to the to-do list itself. So there's the same thing, to-do list that add event listener. This is going to listen for the click event. Let's pass in the event here. Also, some people just abbreviate event to just E. Just know that that's an abbreviation, but you can, this parameter here, you can call anything you want. Good standards are E, and I like to be a little bit more precise and say event. Anyway, here in the callback, we're going to do console.log. The list was clicked. Now let's see what we have in here. So first, I'm grabbing the first to do. I add an event listener to listen for the on click, and that's going to console log a to do was clicked. And then I'm grabbing the to-do list itself, the parent of the LI, and I'm adding another event listener that will listen also for a click event. And that is going to console log the list was clicked. Now let's see what we have once we refresh this page and click on our to-do. Now we have two console logs. We have a to-do was clicked, and also the list was clicked. This is again event bubbling. This is the event happened in the to-do in the LI item, and then the event was bubbled up to the parent and fired the event listener in the parent, which was this guy we put right here. It fired the event listener in the parent, and that event listener who was listening for the click event just console out the list was clicked. And if we think about it, it also makes sense because the list was clicked because we're clicking something that is inside the list, which is the LI. You see, even now because we have an event listener in the to-do list itself, now it doesn't matter where we click, as long as we were inside the list, we're going to see that the list was clicked, right? Because here I'm clicking in the list itself. If we go here, let's look at what this is, what constitutes the list basically, right? So anywhere I click in this area that's highlighted will fire the click event on the to-do list, right? And also if I click on a child that has this child, the buy milk, this item, because that list item is inside of the list, then when I click the child, I get the event listener for the child LI was fired, and also the event listener for the parent was fired as well. So again, this is what happens once we have event bubble in, which is the default in the DOM. A click that happens in the child will be propagated, it will bubble up to the parent, and it will be felt, registered, whatever you want to call it, in the parent itself. So that if the parent, like in this case, the to-do list, is listening for that same event, and in this case we have a console log that will fire it, we will have this callback also being called in it, because again, the child is inside the parent. If we click on the child, we are also at the same time clicking in the parent, right? Because again, the child is inside of the parent. So that's why we see two of them here. And then if I click somewhere else, which is not the child that has the specific click, I only get the list was clicked, right? Because I'm clicking the list, and the list itself is clicking, is listening for the click event. So that is pretty much what event bubbling is. Let's look at also, let's grab the body. Let's add an event listener to the body just to see, because the event, if we look at here, looking at this graph, we sort of have this li. Let's say this is the li that we're clicking. So the event gets bubbled out from the li to the parent. So that is like the ul also can listen for the click, and it will be registered. And also the parent of the ul, which is the body, if we have an event listener listening for the same event, which is the click event, the same event type or event name, that will also fire and register that event. So let's look at, let's add an event listener to the body. For doing that, let's do document.body.add event listener, click, and then let's do this, console.log, the body was clicked. Let's try one more time. Now note that once I click the li, I get a to-do was clicked, but also because the to-do is inside the list, then the list itself was clicked. And also because the list itself is inside the body, therefore the body was also clicked. Right? This is the event bubbling up from the child to all the way to the root of the document, which in this case will be the HTML document. So we can see how it's bubbling up from an event that originated in the li, then it passes into, it bubbles up to the parent and the parent of the parent until we get to the root, which is the HTML. Okay, but why would this be handy? Like, why would this be useful for? So a really good use case is, in this case, we have let's remove the one in the body, but that was just for demonstrating that the event bubbles up all the way to the root. In fact, I think we could even go further and say document that add event listener, and let's add the click here, sort of like to see. I think this will be the last layer, console.log document was clicked. So just to drill it one more time, let me click on the buy milk, and then we got now 4 console logs. To do was clicked because the to do is inside the list. Then the list itself was clicked as well, because the list is inside the body then therefore was clicked, and because the body is inside the document itself was clicked. So now if I click anywhere here, now the document was clicked twice. If I click on the list, then the list was clicked, the body was therefore clicked, and the document was clicked. Again, just this, the bubbling going on, that an event that happens in the li bubbles up to the ul, bubbles up from the ul to the body, and the body to the HTML. And this is just, we're adding this event listeners to the ul first with this to-do list, then to the body, with the document.body add event listener, and lastly to the HTML by saying document.add event listener click. So that's what's going on there. Now going back to the initial question, which is what would this be useful for? Let's remove this. So imagine Imagine you have this, you're building a to-do app, and you want, when you click, you want the to-do to be marked as complete. Maybe you want a check mark that appears next to it. Maybe you want it to appear like crossed, meaning you completed this to-do. We're not going to get to that implementation just yet. But what the idea with that is, if we want to do that, then that means that we need to add an event listener to the first to-do, and then add another event listener to the second to-do, and add another event listener to the third to-do to be able to mark them off, or be able to listen for those clicks that happen on those to-dos. What we can do is take advantage of the event bubbling, and instead of giving every LI its own individual event listener, what we do is we give an event listener to the list itself, so that no matter what to-do we clicked, we will register that click event that happens in the to-do list. And then we will take advantage of the event.target property, which says where the event took place, or like who was the target of the event, and in that way I will be able to tell which LI was clicked. So let's do. I'm not sure. Let's do it the hard way first. The way that is sort of not very efficient first. So that will be grabbing all the to-dos. So, and we're gonna see some problems that arise from this. So here I'm adding grabbing all the to-dos. And now what I want to do is just add event listeners to every single one. 2, 3. Let's do to-do 1 was clicked. To-do 2 was clicked. And to-do 3 was clicked. So we have this. We're grabbing at the top, we're grabbing all the to-dos. And then we have, we're adding event listeners to every single one, to do 1, to do 2, and to do 3. And I'm just commenting out this code for now. Actually, let's just remove that. Now, in this way, then we're able to tell what to do was clicked. Right? If we do console, the to do 1 was clicked, to do 1 was clicked again, and now to do 2 was clicked, to do 3 was clicked, and so on. Right? I can click all of them. But then this is a sort of, I'm repeating myself. And remember that we developers try to avoid repeating ourselves. So let me put this back here. We're repeating ourselves because we're adding 3 event listeners to the 3 to-do list, and all of them will have its own event listener. So it would be great if we could share one event listener, so that all of them have the same event listener, and we don't have to give them an individual one. So what we can do for doing that is, instead of adding the event listener to the to-do itself, we will add the event listener to the list. And because we saw that the event, the click event bubbles up, then we can access the event target, which will reference where the click happened. So let's look at an example here. So what happens if we do, I want to do this. Let's do this. Here I just want to first introduce you to, again, like, which I already did, the event target. So I'm going to do event. I want to see remember that the event, that target, the target property of the event is where the event happened. This is where the event happened. So that means this event target will be the li itself. So I'm going to do, let's do the inner text. Let's see what we have with this. I'm just going to replace all the others. Oops. Just replace all the others. And this is a demonstration of accessing the event target, which is the li where the event happened. Now let's see what we have in the console now. Once I click on it, now boy milk was clicked because boy milk is the event target dot inner text. The event target is the li where the event happened. The inner text is boy milk. Now pay phone bill was clicked, and now call mom was clicked. Now in this way we're able to be a little bit more dynamic. Okay, so I said instead of having the every to do have its own event listener, let's have one event listener that lives in the parent and take advantage of the event bubbling to still get the same effect that we're having here, which is being able to console log what to do we clicked, or what li we clicked. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out and move it to the bottom. Right? Just comment it out, just so that you can see the other way, which is adding the event listener to the list instead of the every to do, and taking advantage of the bubbling that's going on. So let's grab the list. To do list equal document query selector. I'm going to grab it by ID, so pound sign, and my ID is to do list, to do's list. And then here, what I want to do is to do list that add event listener. Let's add the event listener to the list itself. Let's do click. That's the event that I want to listen for. My callback. Remember that I get the event here if I want it, and in this case I do want it. And then here, let's just do console.log. And remember that the event target will contain the element where the event happened. So I could just do this event dot target dot inner text was clicked, and we're going to see how this works. So again, this should produce the same result that we had, which is being able to console log what to do we clicked. So let's refresh this page. Now I'm going to click in buy milk was clicked. Pay phone bill was clicked. Call mom was clicked, and so on and so forth. So in this case, note how we managed to reduce however many lines, 3, then 3 times 4, 12 lines of code with 3 lines of code, taking advantage of the event bubbling. In this case, we put the event listener in the to-do list itself, then we listen for the click event, and then we have the callback. By accessing the event target that inner text, we know the event target again is where the event happened. The event happened here before it happened in the list. It happened in the li itself. So this li will become the target, and its inner text is buy milk. Therefore, we see buy milk was clicked. Let's see what happens if we clicked somewhere inside the list. Oh, this one is interesting. Look at that. If we click on the li, then we get that, right? But now, because let's look at this. So you have to also have to be careful in here. Let's look at the li. So you see the li has that green area that is padding to the right. So that green area still constitute, I cannot move there with the mouse because then it will stop to be highlighted. That green area that you see in the screen is also part of the list. So I can click there, and then because the add event listener was added to the to-do list and is listening for the click, when I click over there, what I get is the inner text of the entire list, which might be unexpected, right? So we'll need to be careful in some scenarios like that. Okay, so that's all I have for you. Here we managed to, instead of repeating ourselves by grabbing all the to-dos here, we just added the event listener to the to-do list itself. Because the event will bubble up, we can take advantage of that and have the to-do list listen for click event and just console log every individual event target that inner text in here. So that was it. That's the entire content on the events lesson in the DOM. And that's it. Then we're going to be working on the lab for the events and also the exit ticket. So let me know if you have any questions. You know that I'm on Slack. And also JR and Winter are there for you to ask questions and help you. So that's it. Thank you for watching.